Welcome to part 2. So let me just begin by showing you how to use the starter rope. So as you finish the starter rope, you just have to pull out the thread and not do any more slip stitches or any more bead crochet stitches. And you know that this yellow bead is the one that you crocheted last. Okay, and the tail thread is just, as you have just pulled out, the tail thread is just going to be out there. And the first bead in this row is the gray one that you see here. That's the first bead that we crocheted in this row, and the yellow bead is the last one. So the tail thread that's coming out of the yellow bead, or that when we finish working the yellow bead, so what you will do is insert your needle from the out of the tube to the inside and just bring this tail thread outside so that it's not in the way of our crochet anymore. So this need not be cut, so this can just be kept out of the way by bringing it outside the tube and hold it like this. So now you know that your tail thread is out, and then you have 8 beads on this row. And now let me show you how to start your new project using the new thread and beads. So here I have strung on one repeat of the pattern, and I am going to start working the project or the new bead rope on the starter tube. So now, because I am going to be using a starter tube, there is another requirement, that is, if the starter tube is of 8 bead circumference, we will need 8 bead of a different color, and then one more bead, that is the 9th bead, of a completely different color from these 8 beads. So these 8 plus 1, 9 beads have to be also strung on to your project that you are going to begin. So we'll put on all the 8 beads, and also one more, that is the 9th bead, which is in a bright pink color. Okay, so we are going to add on this also before we begin to crochet. So these are the beads that will be detached from the starter rope when we want to detach it. So that's why it should be of a different color. Now after you've done that, we can take out the needle from the thread and then leave about 6 or 7 inches of tail. Okay, and this tail thread also must be brought out from one of these places. So where you have to you have to insert your needle to the right of this yellow bead, that is the last bead that we crocheted. Insert your hook to the right side of it, catch or hold the new tail thread and bring that out through this space or through this gap. Okay, the yellow bead might become a little loose at this point, so you just have to give it a pull to tighten it. So now you have 2 tail threads, one coming from the starter rope and one coming from the crochet that we are going to do now. So in order to hold these 2 tail thread tight, I am going to use a tape. So use this tape, hold on to both the tail threads tightly like this and tape them around the tube. So this is just to hold the tail thread. So the purpose of this is just to hold them tight as we begin to crochet. So with both the tail threads out of the way and it's now tight, so we can begin to crochet. So bring down about just 8 beads in the beginning, or you can bring down as many as you like, but having 8 beads helps us to understand that we have to complete the first 8 beads in one row, and you can be sure. So you see the tail thread is coming from the left of the yellow bead. Now you insert your needle to the left of the first bead in that row, which is the gray bead. Like I pointed out earlier, the gray bead is the first bead in this row. The yellow bead was the last. So insert your needle to the left of the gray bead, or the first bead that we crocheted in this row. When you insert the needle to the left of the bead, you are now ready to do the first slip stitch. Bring down the pink bead, that is the first bead in that section, and slip stitch. So first slip stitch and join or attach is done. Now we continue making bead crochet slip stitches in the spiral as usual, like how you would work your bead crochet slip stitch. We'll just continue, but only here the color of the beads are different. These beads are going to be detached later on. So just for your reference sake, it's better to keep track of the number of beads that you are crocheting in one row, because it's very important that the number remains 8 throughout and we don't miss out, or we don't do more beads in that row. So if you have only 8 beads in your working area, you can be sure. But if not, you just keep a track of the number of beads that you did in this row. So this yellow bead is the last bead that you are going to crochet into. And when you finish this one, you should have used 8 beads from the new project that you started. So when you look down here, you can see 8. Starting from the pink, there will be 8 beads. Now again continue second row in a spiral. No need to attach or join or anything else. So just continue in a spiral. Insert your hook in the pink bead and then bead crochet as usual in a spiral. From now it is the same. There is no change in the stitches, or there is no change in the count. So you keep crocheting as long as you want until you are ready to detach this new piece from your starter rope. So you can detach it whenever you like. Sometimes you can keep it till you finish your project, or you can if you want, you can, after you make 1 or 2 inches of your new rope, you can detach it also. But at least in the initial stages, make sure that the number of beads in each row are 8. So I will be making about 1 repeat of the pattern now, and then after I do 1 repeat of the pattern, I'll show you how to detach this from the starter rope or the mother rope. Now, especially this kind of a beginning or this kind of a start is important for a bangle like this, which has got an invisible join. So you see, our join has to be made very neatly, and so that is why, to get that neatness, we need this kind of a starter rope method to make the start of a crochet rope.
And take out my needle.
So when I have done 1 repeat of the pattern,
I'm going to be using a safety
I'm just going to use a safety pin to hold my place there. And now we'll proceed with detaching the starter rope from the new project.
I'll just
So here the work, what we first have to do is to identify the
pink color bead,
the bright pink bead, which was the bead that we put in last. So that's the bead that comes out first when we have to detach. So use another sturdy pin and pull out the first pink bead, which will be very easy. So you just put your pin or needle under the bead there and you pull out, so the first bead will come out very easily. And that's why I had that in a different color, because it was easy to identify it. Now the second is this gray bead that has to come out. So when you just open the bead rope like this and look into, you will find a pink thread which is right next to this bead that I have in my needle.
See, you can see.
Okay, so the first one is a little difficult to identify because you will have to pry it open to look into where you have to see that thread. So see very clearly here you can see there is a pink thread next to the gray bead.
So I'm going to.
Okay, so here there is a little problem in understanding for me, or because both my
catch on to that pink color.
The thread from the tail thread from the starter rope,
maybe that is not
as well as the tail thread from the
because so what
So from
happened
the
was in
project,
this
both the threads
especially,
are of the
see
same
my
color. Say you see,
thread
both of
from
them are
the original
quite
starter tube
very near,
and the
light
thread
pink
from
and
my project are
beige.
both are almost similar color,
So
so that's why
that's why I was finding it
it is a
difficult to
little
identify
difficult for me
which
to
thread
find out
I have to pull out.
which is the thread that I have to take out. Anyway, let
So
me just
now I
check
am
and see
sure. I
if
think
this
this
is
is
the
the one. This is what looks like pink to me here. And because I'm also working under in a camera, inside the
you should
frame of a
aim for
camera,
this.
so the work is a little bit away from me and I'm not able to identify the correct thread correctly, but I hope I'll get there. Sometimes I use a strong
This is the one.
lens of which can multiply
Take that
my
out.
view, and
When you
then
take
that is
that out,
easier. So I'm not
this
even
bead
using
will
that
this will
lens now.
become easy
So that
to
was
take out
why
now.
I was finding it difficult. So once we remove the first thread which I was pointing out, after that
The
removing the
second
rest
bead will
of the
come
beads
out.
becomes easy, because there is some
So
gap for
now
us
it's a
to
little easier.
look
See, if
into
you
the
can
bead
see
rope
here,
and
you can
identify
see
the
there
thread.
is a thread
So
which
see
is
here,
sitting
it
right
is so
next to
clear
the
now.
bead here.
So
So
as
that's the
you
one
look
that you
into
have to
the
pull out.
rope, you'll see
And when
that
you pull that
which is
out,
the bead thread that you
this
have to
becomes
pull
easy
out,
to
and
take out.
then when you do that, the next
This is
bead
the
comes
third
out
one.
easily.
Now
So
look
now
here
we have
again.
taken out 3 beads. Remember, we put on 8 beads, so we have to take out we put on 9 beads. We have to take out all the 9 beads. So 3 beads done. This is the fourth bead that I am taking out now. So the fourth bead has come out. This is the fifth bead. So it gets easy now as we go, because there is a lot of space for us to look into the rope. So I guess that's the sixth. I lost count as I was speaking. So if this is the seventh, and this is bead number, this is bead number 8, and this is bead number 9, which is the last bead to come out. See, when you do this, when you remove the last ninth bead, you can see that
So
this
this
starter
is
rope has
the
become a
mother
little
rope, which
loose,
you can
where
see
the
it has become
last
a little loose. You can just
the tail
tighten
thread is
this
a
up
little
like
loose.
this,
So just tighten
and you
it up
can keep
and
it for
keep
the
it away to
next
use it
project.
the next time you're going to make any bead
Okay.
crochet rope with the
Now
8 bead
let's look at
circumference.
how this
So coming
finishes
to the
now.
new project, here you can see we have got a very clean finish beginning
So I'll point out
for
the
our
8 beads for this one.
rope. Now you
So
can
one,
identify all the
see
8 beads
this
now.
one is the
So this
starting.
is
So
the
you see
thread where
here,
we
so this
started,
place which goes
and
inside
you
here
can
like
see
this.
that's the place
So
where the
this
first
is
bead
the
also
first
lies.
bead.
So that's
1,
1,
2,
2,
3,
3, 4,
4,
that's 4,
5,
5,
6,
6,
7,
7,
and
8.
8.
So these are the
Okay,
8
see.
beads of this
Once
starting row.
again, 1,
Once
2,
again,
3,
if you
4,
count from the
5,
reverse
6, 7,
also,
and
there
8. So
are
this is
8
a
beads
8
there.
bead
So
starting
make
row,
sure
and
there
you
are
can
8
see
beads in your
that we have
starting
got a
row,
clean
and
start.
then you have done all your work correctly. See, this is how we detach. So here I am back after crocheting in several rows. So this is where we started, and this is the end where I had joined with the starter rope, and after I removed, this is how it looks. And then you see, this is the pattern that we have arrived at. And now this is the last repeat that I had put on extra. So before even trying to attempt to make that, I want to show you if I have reached the 8 inches that I wanted after putting in 64 inches of beads alone. So let me take my measuring tape and see if I have reached the 8 inches that I wanted. So I'm going to start measuring from the starting end. Okay, you keep it flush. And here you see I have 8 inches of crochet rope for my bangle that I wanted. So I did not need this extra one repeat that I had put on earlier. And even if you remember, we had a little short of 64 inches, but then even with that little bit of a difference, I was able to get a 8-inch rope that I wanted. So I have, so if to recall, I want to tell you that I had put in 64 inches of beads, and with that I got a 8-inch crochet rope. That means I measure in lengthwise. Okay, I'm not measuring it. I'm not measuring it as a circle. I'm measuring it lengthwise, and this is size 8 beads. So in size 8 beads, if you multiply the number of uh, the circumference with the number of inches of rope that you want, you will get the desired length that you want. So now I am not going to use this last repeat, so I am going to finish here. So because this is going to be a invisible join, so I have to just finish off just here. I'm not going to do any more slip stitches or anything else. So I will just be taking off the thread. See, this is the, let me go back maybe a few beats to show you how to stop this side of the rope. Okay, so 2 more beads that I have to, 2 more, this is the 2 more left from one of the repeat. So 1 and 2. Okay, I am done. So this is the marker which shows that there are no more beads inside here. Now what I will do is I'm just going to leave about say say about 5 or 6 inches of thread, and I'm going to cut off. So what we have to do is, let me bring the scissors. So when I stop crocheting, what I will do is I will just take out the thread like this. When I have about say 5 or 6 inches of thread, I'm just going to cut it. Okay, or you can do it in any other way also. Say supposing, see, this is it, because this has to be very clear to everyone, so that's why I'm showing it to you again. So this is the loop that was on my hook. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm just pulling it out like this. Okay, and I'm going to cut here, and after I cut, you can take out the other thread which is still attached to the spool of thread, and this is the cut where I have made. So you see, this is how the ending should be. Okay, you must not make anything else. So there is a bead here which is just sticking out, but that's nothing wrong with that. So this is how it should be. This is especially when we are doing a invisible join. So for an invisible join, never finish it with any slip stitches. Just stop crocheting and then leave it as it is. Now we will bring both these together, and then I will show you how to make the invisible join here. So in the beginning side, also you have to identify which is the first bead that you crocheted into. To identify that, see, this is the tail thread. This is the tail thread from where we started. So see this place here, if you can see here. So this is the first, let me take a, so this is the first bead that we crocheted, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, sixth, seventh, sorry, one, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so these are the 8 beads that you need to know. Okay, so this, what I will do is, I just, because I want you to identify which is the first bead, so that's why I'm showing you this place. See here, if you if you want to make a mark here, if you want to identify which is the bead, that also can be done. What you should do is take another small piece of thread, thread it onto your needle, and just mark that place. See here, just mark this bead just for your reference, because when we are joining we need to know which is that bead. So you can just make a you can just put a thread inside this just to see where is your, but whereas this tail you just leave it like this for the time being. We can come back and then thread it inside the tube, but you can leave this, or you could even thread it now also. I kept it here because I wanted to show you which is the beginning, but once you have identified this, we can even finish off this part of the thread so that it's not coming in our way. So I could do that too. I'm just going to thread it on, and if you think this is disturbing, you could just make a knot here and just make a knot like that and leave it so that nothing comes in your way. Okay, so now this tail thread can be buried inside the fibers of the rope. Do not take it inside any of the bead, but make sure that you go through only the thread work only, not through the beads. So you could go horizontally like this, and even come back, but you see in all places I am not going through any of the beads. I'm just going through only the thread work only. Okay, that's it. If you have made 3 or 4 passes, that would be strong enough. Now very closely you can cut off the thread and you can finish it. So now, by now we know which is the first bead, so let's not worry about that now. Now let's go back to the side where we ended it. You can see the top 8 beads, they will all be in a standing position. See, by standing I mean it is vertical or it's perpendicular to the beads that are down here. So 8 of them. So this is the last bead that we crochet. So if I'm going to count from this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. 8 beads are all still in the standing position, and these all will have to become flat once we do the joining. So that's what we are going to attempt now. So this side of the rope where we just finished crocheting, so the tail thread is here. So I'm going to thread it onto a needle now, and when you look closely here, this is that where we ended it. So this is the last bead that we crocheted, and the bead below that is flat. By flat I mean it is in this position, whereas the beads after that you see are all in a standing position like this. Okay, so why I want you to identify this bead is because this tail thread has to come out of this bead. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my needle inside the tube, anywhere, just so that it's not inside any of the beads but inside the tube, so that your needle appears right where you want to. When you bring it inside, then I want you to pass the needle through that bead which I pointed out earlier. Pass your needle through that bead and bring it out like this. Okay, so this is the only place where we have used the thread to come out of a bead. Let's now proceed to make the invisible join. So you see here on we have two ends of the rope that we made. On the top is the rope which is the end part of it, and on the bottom is the starting part of the rope. So I'm holding the ending part on the top with between my two fingers, and the bottom part, that is the starting part, in at the bottom. So since we have already marked the place of the first bead that we crocheted into, you can see that there is a thread bridge there on the bead. So you will insert your needle from the right to the left of that through that thread bridge, and then you will move to the top part, and then you will see that there is you'll identify the first bead that is in a standing position, and you will pass your needle to the left of that bead under the thread that you see there. And when you do that, keep a watch on the bead that we just passed through. You see, as I pull, the bead which was standing up will come into a flat position. Now you will insert your needle in the second thread bridge, or in the thread bridge that's on the second bead in the bottom part of our what you're holding. Now since we have finished the first bead, now you will go to the left of the second bead that is in a standing position, and since you don't need this identifying thread that we put on earlier, you can now cut that off because it's going to be coming in our way when we do the join. So you put your needle under the thread there and give it a pull, and when you pull, that bead also which was in a standing position becomes into a flat bead. Now again your needle goes from the right to the left of the third thread bridge, and in the top part of your rope your needle goes to the left of the bead that is in the standing position, and you will give it a pull. As you see, you can see that the finish is not very clean and neat now, but don't worry, as we complete this round, all will fall into place. So continue with the correct stitching, and then you will get your good clean finish. And now you will, so you can see that the bead has been a little out of place, but don't miss out that bead. So see, this is the bead that you should aim for now, and pass your needle to the left of this bead under the thread there and give it a light pull. Then again in the bottom part you will pass your needle from the right to the left of the next thread bridge there. So as you keep working, you will be able to identify the thread bridges correctly, and you will know which you have finished and which you have to work into. So if you keenly watch each step, I mean when you are working, if you do it slowly and very consciously, you will be able to get it right even in the first time. So now I am passing my needle under the next, to the left of the next bead on the top part. Now I'll have to pass my needle through the thread bridge in the bottom part from the right to the left like this. So please take your time and do this slowly. No need to hurry in this position, because once we make the join, it's again difficult to take it out if there is a mistake. So take your time and do it patiently. So now see, there is a few more beads that we have to join, or two more joins, I think. So continue in the same way like I told you, passing the needle as I've mentioned earlier. And if you find that it's difficult, you can even twist your bangle a little bit like this, so that you know you have clear visibility to where you're working. And then again in the top part. If you do this a little loose, it will be a little more clear, but then finally you will have to give all of them a good pull. So but I am here, as I'm working, I'm pulling it tight and working, so that's why you cannot maybe not see it clearly, but I have other videos to show you the same. You could refer to them also. And you can see that some beads can get hidden, as we are working, and you might sometimes miss out. So make sure that you have flattened all the beads that were in a standing position. 8 beads were standing in a standing position. Now you see there are no more beads in a standing position. All of them have become flat, and they are now flush against the starting part of the rope. So this might still look not so very neat for you, but it will all fall into place in one or two uses. And there is one more last part that we have to still do. I will show that to you now. And do not worry about the, just give it a little roll like this, because as you roll on this bangle on your hand, all this will settle, it will ease, and then the invisible join will really be invisible and you won't know where you made the join. So in this part, the last stitch that you have to do is, I would like to go through the first thread bridge once again in order to join all of them up, because it would be otherwise look stranded. So pass your needle from the right to the left of the first thread bridge again and give it a little pull like this. And when you pull it tight, all the work that you did will fall into place, and then a neat invisible join will be done, or invisible join will be made. Excuse me, please. So now, since we have finished this, what we have to do is we have to make sure that we finish off this ending thread also in a neat manner. So what you will have to do is, do not make any knots. Instead, just pass this tail thread between the fibers of the rope in a zigzag motion and up and down in several paths, so that they will be tight and secure. So do not make any knots, or even do not pass your needle through any of the beads. So like how I am doing, pass your thread from the right to the left or from top to bottom in several directions in order to secure the thread. And also don't pull them too much, because that will also change the shape of the bangle. So don't pull them too hard, but just make sure that they're all in a zigzag motion, and it will be difficult for the tail thread to easily come out. You could even move your thread up, even sections up, so that it is far away from the place where you joined it. So like how I'm doing now, you can move your needle and thread even far away, but not under the but not into any of the beads, but just into the crochet threads. or the thread that is part of this rope. So this would be secure enough. There is absolutely no need to make further stitches like me. So I'm just making it because I feel it will be more secure. So with this we have completed the invisible join. So let me focus and bring my bangle under the camera. So you see, this is the place where we made the join, and now already you will not be able to see it. Give it a roll in your hand like this, and then all your stitches will set in place. And again, with one or two uses, as you roll your bangle on, it will become more better. So once this is done, you can now cut off the thread, and with this we complete our project. So successfully we have made a 8 bead crochet rope with an crochet bangle with an invisible join. So this is the back of the bangle and this is the front, or you could even twist it a little bit to make it so that the flowers appear on the top side. So now you can see the invisible joint bangle is ready. Thank you for watching.